Morning, everybody.
Good morning. Still morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Senator.
Good morning, Senator.
Senator Lesser just texted me. He'll be on in about 2 minutes. Thank you.
I'd like to say hi to my intern, Mallory Farrick, for joining us. Hi, Mallory.
Hi.
Morning, Madam Chair.
Morning, Representative Meskers.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
Do we have everyone on?
Yes.
Representative Pavlock D'Amato is trying to get in. I just resent her the link, so she is joining.
Okay, great. Wait a couple of minutes and then get started.
Is Samuel going to join us today?
He probably will, depending what's on his schedule. He's really enjoying the Insurance and Real Estate Committee. Well, I know that the Deputy Commissioner has a tight timeline, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the hearing, and hopefully Representative Pavlock D'Amato will be able to join us soon. We've got a lot to cover with the Deputy Commissioner, so let's get started. And with that, I'd like to call to order this morning's meeting, public hearing of the Insurance and Real Estate Committee. I want to just remind everyone testifying that we have a rule in the committee of 3 minutes for opening remarks. There is not a limit on responding to questions if there are any. And with that, I want to turn it over to my co-chair, Representative Wood, if she has any opening remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Just looking forward to getting into it. Thank you for joining us today. I know it's a busy day with lots of hearings, so I appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Representative Wood. Senator Wonger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And indeed, I'm very eager to hear the Insurance Department, which serves as the insurance regulator for the state of Connecticut, and MAI compliment for the very good work that they do. And I also want to applaud Commissioner Mays for his work, and very eager to hear the perspective. But I do want to do a shout out that the Insurance Department is the regulatory agency for insurance products in the state of Connecticut. And they are an equal partner in vigilance and transparency. So I'm very eager to hear of them, and I'm thankful for their work in the state of Connecticut.
Thank you, Senator Wong. Have we been joined yet by Representative Pavlock D'Amato?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, great. Representative, do you have any opening remarks?
I want to thank everybody for coming and for testifying, and definitely to the department, thank the department for all their hard work. They put a lot of effort into these bills, and I know we didn't get to them last session, unfortunately, but I think a lot of these bills are great bills that are going to help our state. So I'm looking forward to their testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. With that, it's my understanding that we're joined today by the Deputy Commissioner Hirschman. Are you on, and would you like to begin?
Yes, thank you, Senator Lesser, and good morning, Senator Lesser, Representative Wood, Senator Wong, Representative Pavlock D'Amato, and members of the Insurance and Real Estate Committee. My name is Josh Hirschman. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of the Connecticut Insurance Department, and I'm coming to you from sunny Guilford, Connecticut. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony today in support of the department's proposed legislation. As you're aware, the core mission of the Connecticut Insurance Department is consumer protection. The department carries out its mission by enforcing state insurance laws to ensure the policy holders and claimants are treated fairly, as well as by closely monitoring the financial condition of insurance carriers to make certain that they are solvent, appropriately managing their risk, and are able to pay policy claims as they arise. We are submitting substantially the same legislative package as we did last year, where all of our bills were JF'd out of this committee. I will highlight any changes as I summarize the bills, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions. The first and really most important bill that we're proposing this year is an act concerning credit for reinsurance. The U.S. entered into an agreement with the EU and UK where each state must adopt the agreement to avoid the possibility of federal preemption. This bill is unchanged between this year and last year. The next bill that we're proposing is an act concerning the Insurance Department's recommended technical changes to the general statutes. There are a few components to that, and I'll briefly highlight those. The public health fee allows the department to impose a late filing fee of $100 per day for insurers or healthcare centers who do not submit lives covered by September 1st. There is also a civil penalty of not more than $15,000, which can be imposed if it is determined that the company's discrepancy was not in good faith. This has not been changed from last year. The next section additionally adds the capability for companies to pay their assessments in a one-time payment instead of installments, if they choose to do that. Again, this is unchanged from last year. Next, it repeals a report set forth in 38A12, which is, to the best of our knowledge, informational, and it hasn't been ever submitted to the department. So we're trying to clean up our bills or our statutes, and this one is new this year. The next area is the department's external review process, updating it by removing the $25 fee that we require right now. This is a new component of our tech bill as well. And this is not only consumer friendly, but it also will improve the insurance department's time and energy usage, considering we spend more time refunding this $25 fee than we spend collecting and depositing this fee. Our next component of this is the data security model law, tech change to that. This has been something that's been ongoing with the industry. We've had numerous conversations with all the stakeholders to try to make this work, and we are all on the same page. I do believe that there will be a correction made to the timing of this, and I know Eric George will be talking about this as well, but the effective date is currently 10/1/21, and we need to have a gap extended to the 4/9 and the 10/1 date. So that will be a change that we'll be proposing. Our next bill is, I think, a good bill, a big deal, is our captive bill. And the bill really, it makes it easier for captive insurance companies to do business in Connecticut. One of the features of the bill that I'd like to highlight is that it permits foreign branch captives to exist, which allow captive companies who have Connecticut-based risks but are domiciled in different jurisdictions to open up a branch in Connecticut to cover the Connecticut risk. And that it's a no-brainer. It adds jobs and adds revenue to the state. The changes that we made, I'll walk us through those changes, and if there are questions, we can highlight them after the fact. But the changes to this bill is we remove conditional licensing ability to the captives. We've lowered the amount of capital and surplus required from the bill that we submitted last year. We removed the provision that capital and surplus may be in the form of any asset approved by the commissioner. We added permission to waive the financial exams for the Connecticut branches for pure captives. We've added sponsored captives participate to include controlled unaffiliated businesses. We've lowered and clarified the amount of capital and surplus of a dormant captive. And we have also changing the minimal capital requirements for dormant captives. And these changes have been in concert with conversations we've had with all the stakeholders. We're really trying to not only make Connecticut a more approachable place for captives, but also we are trying to, we're trying to make sure that our regulations and our statutes make sense, and it's not a race to the bottom, but they're strong and they are they're ensuring growth in the industry. Our next bill is an act concerning the insurance department's recommended changes to the insurance statutes. This bill previously split into two bills, was JF'd in 2020 with the same language. And again, I'll just give brief highlights. Section 1 and 2, this is the same proposal as last year. It has to do with genetic testing results being used for life insurance. And we are asking that there be consent from the consumer before those are used. And it's also creating protection for the consumer in regards to health insurance, Medicare supplement insurance by prohibiting the use of genetic information in underwriting. Section 3 of this bill is just creating parity. It's cleaning up kind of our commercial lines and auto by codifying provisions in the statute for the cancellation of homeowners policies. Section 4, this section requires a loss ratio of less than 50% for credit life insurance and credit accident insurance. Again, this is sort of no-brainer. We're in a tough spot in Connecticut where the loss ratios are ridiculous. They're a little bit out of control. So 50% brings us in line with a national average. Section 5 of this bill is, this section lowers the course requirements for producer licensing. This brings us in line with the National Association of Insurance Commissioners Uniform Licensing Standards, and it really improves portability nationwide for producer licensing. Our next act is new, an act concerning value-added products or services. This is something that the commissioner has been working very hard on at the national level, as has staff. And I'll just briefly highlight this for you. It's a new proposal where the insurance department is constantly a strong proponent of innovation and technological advances within the insurance industry. And this act will provide an opportunity to consumers to have access to innovative products and services. The National Association of Insurance Commissioners has developed amendments to the NAIC Model Unfair Trade Practices Act that will allow for certain value-added products or services at no or reduced cost when the product or services are not referenced in the policy. This bill will amend existing statutes that currently prohibit insurance companies from providing consideration or inducement not specified in the insurance policy. Such value-added products or services must have a legitimate nexus to the value of the insurance coverage, be designated to provide loss control, improve health, reduce risk, and other intents, and are provided in a fair and non-discriminatory manner. The insurance department will have the ability to track the type of value-added services or products being offered, and will be provided with data which will show if any outcomes are not consistent with the intent of the law. Ideally, information will be captured via lower incident rates and rate reductions among the other outcomes. And our final act is our annual Surety Bail Bonds Act. And we think that we're trying to really add continuing education requirements and eliminate administrative processes, and generally make the bail bonds experience work better for the department, the consumers, and the agents. So we're really excited about all of our bills here. And I'd love to open the floor for any questions. I see one hand is raised, but I'll leave it up to the chair to facilitate the questions.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Commissioner Hirschman. And I do have a few questions, and I know other members of the committee do as well. And I want to, just before I get there, I want to applaud the insurance department for really focusing on that issue that you mentioned, which is consumer protection. And I know that the department has gotten a lot of recognition around the country for its leadership role in that. And specifically, we want to highlight Commissioner Mace, who was recently elected Secretary Treasurer of the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, which means that he is in line to be effectively the nation's nation's top insurance regulator, which I think is a special point of pride for all of us in Connecticut, as well as a special honor that was recently given to Paul Lombardo, Director of your Health and Life Division, who, as many of us are getting complaints about long-term care rate increases, and he's really leading the fight nationally to try to help give us tools to provide much-needed relief to folks who are stuck with outrageous long-term care rates. So I appreciate his leadership and yours as well, and want to just highlight the ongoing work of the department. I have a few questions, particularly one about this new proposal, the value-added products. Bill, can you give an example to the committee about what a value-added product could be? We've gotten some stakeholder, I don't know if it's opposition, but certainly agita. I think there are folks who are looking at this proposal and trying to understand what it means for providers and for Connecticut. So if you could give us some examples of what it is you're trying to promote, and certainly innovation is always good, but want to make sure that we're sort of addressing potential concerns with it.
Yeah. So there are value-added products that aren't value-added products, and I can start by just highlighting some things that you could think about that really just don't make any sense. So you're not going to be giving for health insurance, you're not going to get a vacation to Hawaii for using Anthem or any of the other, or Connecticut. But if a domestic carrier or a licensed carrier in the state wants to offer wearable technology to track your steps and to help keep you in line with your health, that's something that there is a nexus to. Or when you talk about life insurance, there could be some nexuses related to some legal services offered for life insurance. or if you talk about disability insurance, there could be some nexuses related to different types of again, wearable technology, or it's really, the goal here is to eliminate the question that carriers often have and to make this process a little bit clearer. Because right now, the way the insurance department has it set up is we allow certain value added products when they're in the policy, and that is sort of not even clear. Some companies don't even realize that they can add value added services if it's in the policy. So it's really to clear it up. It's really to improve the relationship between the consumer and the carriers. And it does need to be watched and monitored. And as I had indicated, we have the tools to watch and monitor that to make sure that it's not out of control.
Thank you. And specifically, I think one of the questions we had received in response to that was a concern that obviously carriers have negotiated provider networks on the health insurance side, and there was a question about would this be opening the door for direct payments from providers to patients to induce them to pick one provider over another, from carriers to patients, and if or policyholders, and if so, are there policy considerations there? I don't know if you have any.
No, it would not allow that to happen.
Okay, great. And then with regard to the captive insurance issue, I know, is there companion legislation to this that's in the Finance Committee? Is there?
I believe that there is other legislation to this, but I'm not entirely sure where it is seated. Lady might know, but I could get back to you on that, Senator Lasser.
Okay, so I understand that there's a sort of a related proposal that would allow forgiveness of back assessments to the insurance departments. That captives would have owed if they had been registered with the Connecticut Insurance Department. Be a 3-year captation on those payments. Yeah, is that right? But that's not before us. That's
correct. What that will have to be administered, I believe, through DRS, and I'll follow up with you with Lady on that. But I'll just comment that there are places that would be required. There are companies that would be required to pay taxes that aren't currently paying taxes, and what we're trying to do is incentivize them to come back to Connecticut and to give them an opportunity to, sort of declare that yes, we've been away, and yes, we recognize we owe the taxes, but we're kind of giving them a break to get them here and make it work, and still while collecting a portion of the money that they would owe.
Separately, not in your proposals, but we've gotten some requests to make changes to continuing ed requirements with regard to insurance producers. And I wanted to know if that was something the department had a position on. This is something that we've had, ongoing discussions over the last few years. Is that something that you have a position on?
So we do have a position on the producer licensing, continuing education. Is that the question?
Yeah. So I think we received the proposal to allow continuing ed requirements to roll over from 1 year to the next if someone had accumulated a larger number of continuing ed requirements that could be applied. Is that something the department has a position on?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Totally fair. I may have other questions, but I know that there are a lot of members who have questions, so I'm going to turn it over to them rather than hogging your time. So thank you, Deputy Commissioner, and I'll turn it over to my co-chair, Representative Wood.
Thank you, Chairman Lesser. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. I have just a few questions. Basically, a lot of your recommendations would be bringing Connecticut in line with NAIC recommendations. Is that correct?
Yeah, a lot of our proposals are associated with the NAIC and being sort of at the national standards, correct?
And it seems like a lot of the changes did protect consumers in a stronger way. So would you say that is generally the case?
Correct.
Regarding the captive industry, can you just explain a little bit about what's happening here in Connecticut? I'm assuming this legislation is to encourage growth there. Can you just tell us, is that sector growing? Are they happy here? Are we doing the right things to encourage growth with this legislation and, others in other committees?
Thank you. Yes. So the captive industry is growing in Connecticut. We have an amazing department, and our new changes to the laws will continue to grow the captive industry. We're seeing that there's a lot of opportunity for tax revenues, for job opportunities, and there's no better place than Connecticut to have your captive. We have the best, we're the insurance capital of the world. We have the most actuaries per capita. We have the most accountants, the most lawyers, and the insurance industry is alive and vibrant. When you couple the fact that InsurTech is really growing and huge in Connecticut, and you add the captive leg to it, it really makes Connecticut an amazing spot to conduct any sort of insurance processes. And I think that we're going to continue to see growth, and people are starting to realize that, wow, Connecticut is a great place to have your captive.
That's great news to hear. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner.
Thank you, Representative Wood. Senator Wong. Senator Wong, did you have a question? Okay. Representative Meskers.
Thank you, Senator Lester and the co-chair. First, I want to congratulate you on the job you're doing in regulating the industry and encouraging the industry to come forward. I have some specific questions. One related to the ability of the insurance companies to offer, I guess you want to look at it, ancillary products or ancillary benefits. I have to assume that what we're looking there is orchestrating the ability of the insurance companies to try to encourage their insured to improve outcomes, right? So whether it's related to health choices, et cetera. So they're ancillary benefits that ultimately are going to change the profile of comorbidities, if you want to refer that way, or unhealthy practices. I don't think you can answer it today, but I want to look if we can materially, if those changes materially impact, I guess the question is, does it show up in the rollover on the rates on the individual policies when you've improved the outcomes for the general pool? Can we expect potential rebates on the back of that? How do you envision that rolling out?
Yeah, I mean, that would be one marker here, is by seeing these value-added products reduce the rates for insurance. And we're hopeful that that would be one of the things that they do. Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay. So, and then early on, you gave us too much of an agenda. So I'm trying to digest everything as you read through your list today. One of the issues you mentioned were quarterly payments that you're going to turn into annual payments, maybe to simplify it. What's the magnitude, the amount, and is it a registration fee, or what are we looking at there?
So it's the assessment for the insurance fund. And what it would do is, some companies really can predict and know exactly, they're going to know what they pay, and it might be a one-time payment of something relatively small. Not a one-time, it might be something relatively small. And the processing on both the company side and both the insurance department side to require that to come in 4 payments is a little silly. It would only be if a company wants to do it. It just gives the company the opportunity to make that, and it'll make the insurance department's life easier, and it could potentially make the company's life easier.
And is it generically paid in arrears or in advance?
It's paid in arrears.
And is there it's de minimis in terms of any impact on the assessment, and the amounts are not significant or
Well, they could be. I mean, if a large insurer decides to pay a one-time payment and they happen to be, one of our larger carriers, and that would be a large payment that would come in. But we would anticipate that it would only be the smaller companies that would do this. But either way, it wouldn't impact our ability to collect money and budget our fund.
Okay. And I think that Co-Chair Wood mentioned the NAIC. So, I mean, basically, from my understanding from my days in banking, you basically have 50 separate regulatory environments with the NAIC working as the overarching, trying to create coherent insurance regulations across 50 separate jurisdictions. And so I would think that since we are the leader in the industry, it's because, one, we've matched the baseline of the industry regulatory environment across the 50 states. Apart from this list you're presenting, it would be helpful during the course of this session to have some conversations about what other regulatory issues, requests you're considering that may be pluses and minuses, to them, that you're being asked by the industry. Because I think the better we can grow the industry, the more employment we create in the state for that industry would be wonderful. So I'd love to hear how we can maintain a leadership role and where the cutting edge is on that type of regulatory environment.
Okay,
And with
thank
that,
you.
I think I've asked my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Senator Wong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Hirschman, for joining us today. And I'm going to base my questions off of the testimony that's submitted in the name of Commissioner Mays, if that's okay by you. But I'm sure you do a great job answering.
Well, I'll do my best. I don't want to.
Yep. No, I'm sure you'll do great. Let me start by saying it's important to note the great job that your department does, and I just want to repeat for public record your stated core mission. I'm going to read what you submitted in testimony. The core mission of the Connecticut Insurance Department is consumer protection. The department carries out its mission by enforcing state insurance laws to ensure that policyholders and claimant are treated fairly, as well as by closely monitoring the financial condition of insurance carriers to make sure that they are solvent, appropriately manage risk, and are able to pay policy claims as they arise. And I want to thank you for that important role, because you are entrusted to be sure that our insurance carriers and the customers that they have are ably protected. So I'm going to start with the role of Senate Bill 841. And in section 1 and 2, you cited that this proposal would prohibit requirement genetic testing or use of genetic testing without the consumer consent for life insurance. Is that a unique state requirement that we're imposing? Is there any federal regulations as relates to that from a genetic testing requirement for policies?
So, being a part of the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, that's sort of where we get a lot of where we have the conversation at the national level. There aren't any federal regulations for this that I'm aware of, and it would be the state of Connecticut's responsibility to protect the consumer regarding genetic testing, if it's in the prerogative of the legislature. You are all granted with the ability to regulate the insurance industry through the McCarran-Ferguson Act. So this is our responsibility to move this forward if it's something that you're interested in. Yes.
Absolutely. It is something that I'm very interested in. I'm glad that your department has raised the issue. I just wanted to double check that it's not a federal requirement that genetic testing be exempted from any insurance policy. So it's on a state-by-state basis.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And number 2, in regards to section 3 regarding cancellations, it's predominantly related to policies and all that. Is there any language consideration in regards to policy cancellations on health insurance products?
I would have to get back to you on that, Senator.
Okay,
if
thank
that's
you.
a problem. I think that it would apply on health insurance as well, but I don't want to speak without having the information in front of me.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And finally, on Senate Bill 841 regarding section 4, this section would establish the loss ratio requirement no less than 50%. And it is for credit life, credit accident, and health insurance policies. And you mentioned that the national average loss ratio, what we did in health insurance, most recently, what they call the MLR, you're saying that 50% is pretty much the national basis and one that the insurance department, as you would on your insurance carriers, private insurance carriers, should be no less than 50%. Would that be correct?
Let me just pull it up for you one moment. So this is for, hold on one second, Senator. So the loss ratio is regarding credit life insurance and credit accident and health. I don't know. I don't want to speak about I think it's accident and health insurance policies. These are not your health insurance policies that we're thinking of, like the one that I would have with Anthem. These are the accident type of health insurance policies, or the catastrophic health insurance policies, where a consumer would, you might see these, you get a piece of mail where it says sign up for $15 or $30. And if you have anything over and above, $500,000 claim, we'll pay that difference based on all these different, components that might have happened to you. And that is what we're going after here. And that nationwide, a lot of states have caps at 50% for those type of policies. And we think that Connecticut should have a cap at that policy for those types of policies as well.
So perhaps I'm reading it, and this is a testimony submitted, that it should be much more specific to a narrow band of property casualty policies. Would that be correct?
Well, it's also there are health, like you could get that in the mail today. There's where they say, if you get into a car accident and your injuries exceed, above your health insurance and you owe another X amount of dollars, we will cover that difference. And we're going after that as well. But I could provide you with the specific language and the specific types of policies so that you could you could better understand it, because I'm not doing an adequate job of explaining.
Oh, no. Look, this is one of the processes of public hearings that I hope you don't mind that I'm asking these questions, and I will always look forward to getting the additional background information and share that with the committee, as well as when we evaluate this bill further. So I just simply wanted to ask that, and I thank you for the indulgence. Let me go to Senate Bill 844. And I think the value-added products and the focus on that is very much positive. And I know Chairwoman Wood raised some of the questions that I was going to ask. But I also wanted to double check that there are two testimonies submitted, one for the Department of Insurance and one from the commissioner. I see that they're both similar. So I just wanted to make sure that they are indeed both similar.
Yeah, they should be yes. Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. So let me get to 6388. In regards to captive insurance companies, I was really appreciative when you talked about the positives and the lure of getting captive insurers to come into our state. And I'm really grateful for your positive plug of us being the insurance capital of the world and being a world recognized leader in recognizing the actuarial risks and the expertise that we have in our state. And you're looking at this as a competitive advantage. And I just wanted to maybe ask you, in your interactions with captive insurers and luring them and having this positive bill move forward, is that the expertise and the strength of our private insurance market, combined with the oversight of the insurance department, is an important positive, as well as a critical difference maker in the national, if not international, marketplace. Would that be safe to say?
That's a great point. And I'll just take a moment here to say that Representative Wood and Representative Pavlik D'Amato were on a call yesterday where they had the opportunity to hear from industry at how wonderful our chief regulator in the captive area is doing. Benoit Liu. She's relatively new to that role. She's been with the department for many years, but she's doing an amazing job. And you're exactly right, Senator Wong, that we at the insurance department have such a great staff and such a great reputation nationwide that it's a spot where entities, insurance entities want to come and work because of our regulatory nature.
Yeah, particularly in light of the COVID impacted and the economic malaise that we're seeing all over the country. The state of Connecticut having such an incredible competitive advantage, it would be short-sighted for us to undermine any of that moving forward. I think we should build on the strength and collaborate in the many things that we need to do to address health insurance cost, health insurance accessibility. And I'm appreciative of your comments reaffirming that that we need to build up the industry in ensuring that they represent the interest of everyone and collaborate with us. But it is a competitive advantage when we are looking for every single job that we need in the state of Connecticut. So thank you on that, Captive. I will move on to 6391. I'm going to be real quick on this. This is just definitely to kind of reaffirm, this is your technical bill, right? It's kind of the repeat of most of the bills from last year that we did not get to due to COVID.
Correct.
Okay, great. I'm getting there. 6392, the reinsurance. Now, this might be construed as almost a technical bill to bring it into parity from an international comparative, right? Predominantly between the UK and it's predominantly with the UK. Would that be correct to just make it sure a line of consistency in the international marketplace regarding credit for reinsurance?
Correct.
Okay. And do you see, and even in your department, as I'm reading through the testimony with a lot of the understanding of it, the reinsurance product and credit for reinsurance is a long established methodology in the insurance marketplace. Would that be correct?
Correct.
And I think as a product that has credibility and long established working history, it is something that we could look at for many other aspects. I know this bill relates to a technical correction to make it consistent from a international trade agreement perspective, but it is important for us to point out that as an insurance department and with expertise, worldwide recognized expertise, that the reinsurance product and credit for it is a nationally, if not internationally recognized product in the use of insurance risk management. So let me get to the last one, which is 6393 regarding surety bail bonds. I have to ask you, being relatively new to the committee, I did not know that bail bonds were under the cognizance of the insurance department.
Yes, I am new to the insurance department as of 2019, and that was a shock to me as well. Since it's a part of a surety, I think that's why it was deemed fit under our department. But I will comment and say that this bill, I think, will improve the relationship between the department and bail bonds generally, and also make it a more reasonable process for the consumer.
Well, I appreciate that as I'm reading through it and knowing some of the history in regards to efforts by past administrations to kind of increase the oversight of the bail bonds industry. All I can say is good luck to you. So again, thank you, Mr. Chair, for the indulgence. And I really do appreciate giving me the opportunity to kind of go through the various bills and give better clarity. And again, let me close by thanking you for the important mission that I cited earlier and the incredible value that you have in protecting consumers in the insurance marketplace and the great job that you do, not only for our state, but recognized nationally and internationally. So thanks, Joshua. You did a great job. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Wong. And Senator Wong, I got to tell you that the insurance department, not only do they regulate the bail bonds industry, but they zealously protect the ability to do that. And that is, I know, a very important mission that they care passionately about. And so wanted to turn it over now to Representative Nuccio. Representative Nuccio, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Hi, how are you, Mr. Harshman?
Good. How are you, Representative?
Good. Some more detail around the 844 bill, the value added. You had mentioned that the DOI has the opportunity to track the data and to bring value to the idea of value added initiatives. So I was wondering if you gave a little bit of breakdown on, for instance, like wearables and stuff like that. But what I'm wondering is what you're utilizing to track the data and what you're hoping to see from it. And I'm sorry, I'm just looking for my bill notes. There it is. What you're hoping to see from it and regulate.
Sure. I mean, it's not only on the health side, it's really for all lines. If you think about homeowners insurance and water detective products and different types of products to make the home a safer place, or telematics in a car, it's really, it really crosses all lines of insurance. And what we hope to see, and the way that we're going to track it, is through loss ratios, see an improvement on loss ratios, see that the consumer is going to be receiving better rates because of those loss ratios are going down. And ideally, at the end of the day, it's really a win-win-win for everyone, for the regulators, for the consumers, and for the industry. That's what we're really hoping for here.
Is there going to be an anticipated, I'm sure you guys are, I'm sure I'm asking a stupid question here, but an anticipated ramp up. So when you introduce one of these values, you're not obviously going to see the value right away. So, it's going to take some time for a ramp up in that. So is that being built into what you're going to be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing process. It's a slow process. Currently, we allow certain things, so we're tracking what we currently allow, and we got to see basically the results, and it's going to take time.
Okay, thank you. That's all that I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Nuccio. Are there other questions or comments from members of the committee for Deputy Commissioner Hirschman? Okay, if not, you got off quick and easy, Deputy Commissioner. Thank you again for gracing us with your presence, and look forward to continuing to work with you and the department. And as I always remind members of this committee, the department is really an excellent resource for constituent issues, as well as a depth of knowledge about all matters pertaining to insurance. So please call them. Don't call me. I don't know anything. But the lady at the department is our liaison and does just a fantastic job of answering questions on a feels like sometimes an hourly basis. So thank you, Deputy Commissioner, and thank you to the department.
All right, thank you all.
Okay, great. Next up, we have Representative Tammy Exum.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Thank you so much to the chairs, Senator Lesser and Representative Wood, to the ranking and committee members of the Insurance and Real Estate Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today in support of House Bill 6387, an act concerning living organ donor insurance discrimination. I'm Representative Tammy Exum, and I represent the 19th District, which includes portions of West Hartford, Avon, and Farmington. Last year, I was introduced to two West Hartford residents, Robin Gilmartin and Diane Mack. They are living kidney donors, and they shared with me information on insurance discrimination and wanted Connecticut to join other states in enacting this legislation. Together, we worked to bring this to the Insurance Committee, where it unanimously passed out of the committee, and then came COVID, and so we began again. This is also a personal issue for me. My mother died from renal failure, and acquiring a kidney could literally have saved her life. I see organ donors as selfless heroes. Let's put an end to any punitive insurance measures against donors. Today, Robin and Diane are unable to join us, but have submitted testimony. Sheila Sokolsky of Avon did as well, but she gave me permission to share her testimony for your consideration. and I will read it as though she's present. My name is Sheila Sokolsky, and I am a living kidney donor. I'm sorry, I am multitasking here, and I've got to turn that other one down so you can hear me. My name is Sheila Sokolsky, and I am a living kidney donor who donated my left kidney on July 25th, 2018 to Debbie Lanigan. I did not meet Debbie until after I had been approved to be her donor. I learned about Debbie's need for a living kidney donor through my longtime friend and work colleague, Erin Concepcion. Debbie is her childhood friend who has polycystic kidney disease and was diagnosed with renal failure after the birth of her son, Matthew, who was born just 1 month after my youngest daughter, Clara. I never had any health issues and could not imagine not being healthy enough to actively participate in my children growing up. The process to be approved as a living organ donor is extensive. Blood tests and kidney function tests, in addition to body scans, are all conducted to ensure the donor is in optimal health. Studies show that the average life expectancy of a living organ donor is longer than the average life expectancy, not due to the donation itself, but due to the fact that you have to be in such good health to donate. From the time I left the hospital after surgery, my creatinine levels have never been above the normal range, despite having only one kidney. The process also includes meeting with a living donor advocate, nurses, and counselors to ensure that the donor is well informed and mentally suited for donation. As part of that process, you are asked if you have the financial resources to be out of work for surgery and recovery. I am extremely lucky that my employer offers a generous, fully paid organ donation leave. I would have been eligible for full pay and benefits for up to 6 weeks, even though in my case, I returned to work just 2.5 weeks after my surgery. The team at Hartford Hospital also advised me that there had been cases where living donors had been discriminated against when trying to procure insurance after donation, and that I needed to take this into consideration. I have group life insurance through my employer and knew that would not be impacted. If I ever changed employers, however, I could be denied supplemental coverage based on my donation. As a precautionary measure, I took out an additional individual term life policy in an amount equivalent to the amount of group coverage I have to ensure my family was protected in the case that I left my current employer. Not all potential donors have the financial resources to take this step that I did. David Seltzer of Maryland, who is a military veteran, was deployed multiple times to Iraq and Afghanistan after he donated his kidney to his mother in 2007. Following his donation, but before these deployments, he applied for a life insurance policy only to be denied coverage from Monumental Life. His declination letter indicated that since he only had one kidney, he did not qualify for life insurance and was considered a health risk. I am sure you can imagine how devastating this was for David, even though he would never change his decision to save his mother's life. My recipient, Debbie, is now healthy, back to work as a special education teacher, and able to lead an active life with her husband and 2 children. This would not have been possible without receiving a kidney transplant. There are many barriers that prevent people from becoming living donors, but fear of not being able to procure insurance, which they are healthy enough to otherwise qualify for, should not be one of them. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Representative, and thank you for sharing your personal story as well as advocating on behalf of your constituents. And you're absolutely right. This was something we had voted to move forward on last year. And as with everything else before the committee, it was interrupted by a global pandemic. So I'm grateful for you lending your voice. And I know that this bill is not only just important to you, but to many other members of the General Assembly. But Representative, you've taken the lead. And so I want to give you a lot of credit for looking out for people who are organ donors and doing everything we can to promote organ donation in Connecticut. Just one question. I know we've gotten some support as well from the industry. I think they had some suggested changes the last time I checked. I believe those would work for the bill, but I just want to make sure that you've had a chance to review some what are purported to be technical changes to the proposal and make sure that they would not frustrate your goals here.
I would like to review it one more time, but at this point, I'm happy with the bill that has been raised. Thank you for that consideration.
Yeah, thank you. And Representative, I would note that states all across the country have done this. So Connecticut's a little bit behind the curve. But yes, absolutely. Even though folks who are organ donors may be at higher risk of complications, it's important that we're doing what we can to promote organ donation. And so this seems like a worthy goal, and I really applaud your leadership here. I see you've got a few folks with their hands up, so I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Representative Wood.
Thank you, Representative Exum, for coming and sharing your story. Please also thank your constituents for writing that testimony and really being heroes for what they did. I just kind of wanted to say this really kind of hits home for us here in the Connecticut General Assembly. And I was wondering if you could just share with everyone what has happened with our good friend and colleague, Representative Jeff Curry.
Yes, I'm happy to share. Representative Jeff Curry told us over the summer that he was in kidney failure, stage 4, and that he would require a kidney donation. And he really put it out there because he was hoping someone would come forward. He became fortunate enough not to have but one person, but he had a backup in case that one did not work out and was not a match. Fortunately, he recently underwent surgery and has had a successful organ transplant for his kidney transplant. And one of the things that for me is full circle is there is a bakery in my district in Avon called Pure Love, which I love because it has gluten-free and vegan options, which made me a regular customer. I didn't realize the owner of that bakery, Karen, she is the organ donor for Jeff Curry. So it was this beautiful story to see, but they are both doing well. And I can't wait to check in with her. Because of COVID, I've not been able to meet her in person. We wanted to keep her as safe as possible. But this really does hit home. We see what this looks like. And I would sure hate to see Karen discriminated against for being willing and to be so selfless in order and to support Representative Curry. So thank you for allowing me to share that story.
Thank you. Thanks so much for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And I think I speak for all of the members of the committee. We are so thrilled that Representative Curry has been doing well and has been able to get an organ donation. And I know that he is going to be, he's going to take, I think, your role over as a top advocate for organ donation. So if you don't mind ceding him the spotlight when he deems it appropriate, I think we would. We're just thrilled that he was able to secure an organ, and wish him and his donor the very, very best. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Representative Exum, thank you very much for raising this important issue and being a voice for your constituents who have suffered a loss. And an extra credit needs to be given for the incredible resolve and courage for family members that want to honor their wishes of their loved ones after suffering a loss to take the extra effort to give life to others. And that is such a incredible endeavor of selflessness. It really needs to be lauded. And that being said, it is important to recognize that we should increase the awareness of organ donations and knowing that the end result is to continue to support and give life to others and giving many people a chance at life. So I want to thank you for that leadership in that regard. And in regards to Representative Curry, I wish him the best in his continued health recovery. And it really reminds us what a truly, truly small world that we live in, that the donor would be somebody right in your neighborhood as you advocate this bill. So maybe somebody up above has divine thoughts and make this all work. So I'm eager and I'm very much looking forward to helping you. And I'm equally encouraged that the insurance industry has stepped forward in recognizing this as a very important action that we should all support. So I want to thank you very, very much, and thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Representative Nuccio.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Representative Exum. I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I was looking through the bill, and is the whole piece of legislation, was it new last year and it just didn't go through?
It was new last year, yes.
Okay, because I was looking for the underlying changes and it only said something about section 2 and I couldn't find what it was talking about in section 2. So I'm gonna play the new girl card here for a minute and just ask if you could, is this for insurance in relation to health insurance, life insurance? Like, can you just give me a little more information about what drove this bill and what we're hoping to fix here? Because I didn't read the whole thing because I was looking for the underlying text.
Sure. Just to let you know, it would prohibit discrimination in life, disability, and long-term care insurance for living donors.
Life, disability, and long-term care?
Yeah.
For living donors. Okay. And prior to they being denied, is that what it was? Especially for the life
in Connecticut
insurance, it would exempt them?
So in Connecticut,
okay.
Right, but there is federal legislation and there are 14 other states that are doing this as well, but in Connecticut, that is not the case. And so we just wanted to protect these donors.
Okay, that helps a lot. Thank you very much. I wasn't quite sure, so thank you for that explanation. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Representative Nuccio. Are there other questions or comments from members of the committee? If not, thank you, Representative Exum. I know your schedule is busy this morning. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have Armand Halter from the National Kidney Foundation.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity. I've read this before, but here we go again. My name is Armand Halter. I reside in Ledger, Connecticut since 1974. As you mentioned, I am an advocate for the National Kidney Foundation. I'm also a mentor in the National Kidney Foundation's peer mentoring program, where I assist kidney patients with end-stage renal disease transition from diagnosis to dialysis and ultimately to transplantation. I myself am a kidney transplant recipient of 25 years. Each year in the state of Connecticut, approximately 1,000 patients are on the waiting list to receive a kidney transplant. Only 25% of those will receive their gift of renewed life this year. The rest will have to wait until their number comes up or they can find a living donor. Of those waiting, some 35 to 50 will pass away. Living donors are hard to come by, and many are discouraged from the donation when they are warned that they may experience discrimination by insurance companies just because they are a living kidney donor. We must do all we can to encourage living donation and help close the gap between those receiving their transplant and those still waiting. As Tammy has alluded to, many states already have living donor protection acts, 14 this year, which is up from 12 last year. The states are Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Idaho, Illinois, Kansas, Maine, Maryland, Missouri, New York, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Utah. The state legislature of New Jersey has passed their own Living Donor Protection Act, and their governor will sign it in the World Kidney Month in March. In addition to Connecticut, the states of Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and Washington have LDPAs actively under consideration. It's time for Connecticut to join their ranks. With the committee's permission, I'd like to read the example that's contained in Ned Brooks's testimony. He texted me and will not be in attendance today. May I go ahead and read a portion of his testimony?
You may, sir.
Yes, Ned Brooks is the founder of the National Kidney Donor Organization, and included in his presentation is that the personal experience of Garrett Hill, who is the founder and chief executive officer of the National Kidney Registry. Garrett donated his kidney in 2015 via the Kidney Registry's voucher program, facilitating 8 kidney transplants in a domino chain and generating a voucher for his daughter, who is a kidney transplant recipient. After donating his kidney, he purchased additional life insurance to protect his family. Because he only had 1 kidney, all of the life insurance underwriters dramatically increased his premiums, even though research clearly showed that living donors live longer than the general population. So donating a kidney will cost him $161,000 over the next 10 years. Another colleague at the Kidney Registry also donated a kidney and was not able to purchase life insurance simply because he was a living donor. He also presents data here which shows the quotes from 6 insurance companies showing that kidney donors are exposed to premium increases from 86 to 131%. Bottom line is, we need this bill. We need to encourage more living donors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Halter. Thank you for your advocacy. And, you know, it's been said that he who saves one life saves the world. And each and every living donor is making our state and our country a better place. So I'm very grateful. I think we all are, for those who step forward to save those around us. And I think this has been an unpleasant surprise for folks like the gentleman that you mentioned, who see sometimes sticker shock when they see their insurance rates drop. So I understand, I think, vividly why this could be helpful. Are there questions for members of the committee? Okay, if not, thank you very much for your testimony today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ned Brooks. We heard that he was not able to join us, but I figured I would give him an opportunity just in case that had changed. Okay. Next, we'll have Melanie Lednolt from the American Kidney Fund, followed by Susan Shackman.
Thank you all for the opportunity to testify on this bill today. This is an incredibly important piece of legislation for the more than 7,000 people in Connecticut right now who are living with ESRD. My name is Melanie Lendenal. I'm the director for the American Kidney Fund based in Rockville, Maryland. And as you all know, a kidney transplant can increase the chances of a longer, healthier life. But there is a severe shortage of organs available. And that means that more than 7,000 Connecticut residents right now, as we sit here speaking, are waiting to get a kidney and have to wait, unfortunately, in most cases, for someone to die to get that deceased person's organ, unless they can find a living donor. Last year, living donors accounted for less than a third of Connecticut's 239 kidney transplants in the entire state. And this bill is incredibly important in that it can increase the number of organs available for transplant by eliminating some of these barriers that living organ donors unfortunately do have to face right now in the state, which is why we're so supportive of this legislation. Just to give you an idea, since 2018, when we started working on these bills across the country, in the bills where we've passed these pieces of legislation, we have seen an increase of about 30% in the number of people willing to become living organ donors. Unfortunately, we do have studies that show that people who donate organs experience discrimination by some insurance companies solely based on their status of living organ donors. For example, an NIH study recently demonstrated that a high proportion of kidney donors had difficulty changing or initiating insurance, particularly life insurance. And the study concluded that these practices by insurers create unnecessary burdens and stress for those choosing to donate and could negatively impact the likelihood of live kidney donation among those considering donation. And further, extensive study has actually demonstrated that people who donate a kidney are likely to live just as long as someone who doesn't donate a kidney. So there is no notable health decrease on someone's life. Donating an organ, as everyone knows, to save another person's life is just a profoundly generous act that changes not only their life, but the life of all of their family members. The gift of a kidney transplant allows patients to go back to work, to travel, to be active again, to get so much time back that they previously spent in dialysis treatments, which comprise someone's day of 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. This bill could help more kidney patients live a longer and healthier life by encouraging organ donation and providing these common sense protections for people who are willing and able to give such a life-changing gift, which is why we are so supportive of this bill and grateful to the committee for hearing this bill. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you two all today.
Thank you, Ms. Ledenthal. Thank you for your testimony. Are there questions or comments from members of the committee? If not, thank you for testifying and appreciate hearing your support. Next up, we'll have Susan Chapman, followed by Eric George. I apologize. Actually, Eric George is not next up in the lineup. After Susan, we will hear from Richard Healy. Is Susan Chapman on?
Hi, good afternoon, Senator Lesser, Representative Wood, and distinguished members of the Insurance and Real Estate Committee.
Susan, your camera is off. I don't know if you intended to do that.
Oh, no, I can put it on. I don't know why it's off though. Hold on, sorry.
The system is new for all of us. We're trying to, this is our second virtual public hearing.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I don't have that ability to put it on. Let me see. Oh, here we go, sorry. Good. Hi, everyone. Senator Lesser, Representative Wood, and the distinguished members of the Insurance and Real Estate Committee. I'm Susan Chapman, and I'm the Executive Director of the Connecticut Orthopedic Society. I'm here today on behalf of the more than 200 orthopedic surgeons of the Society to submit testimony in opposition to House Bill 6390, an act concerning health insurance reimbursement parity for podiatrists. The Society opposes this bill to legislate reimbursement rates for any provider of healthcare, as it undermines the ability for professionals to negotiate rates and also incorrectly assumes that the value provided by all service providers is equal. This bill is founded on the assumption that there is a differential in reimbursement between podiatrists and other licensed healthcare providers, while there is no public data we are aware of that indicates that a lack of parity even exists. Furthermore, health insurers, including Medicare, do not currently pay all healthcare providers the same amount for a specific service, even those within the same specialty. So even within a foot and ankle surgeon specialty, their reimbursement rates are different, mostly because those are contracted and negotiated, whether it's between a large healthcare system, groups, solo practitioners, and the negotiations are different and independent and private within to the insurers. Mandating parity would indicate that additional years of higher quality training and education for medical and osteopathic physicians receive as compared to other healthcare professionals like podiatrists. I'd like to offer an analogy. So would the legislature mandate that all legal work be reimbursed at the same hourly rate, irrespective of the experience, expertise, and track record of the attorney, or whether the work was instead performed by a paralegal? We asked this committee to seriously consider opposing this bill in its entirety, as it inhibits individual contracting, sets a dangerous precedent for all professionals who contract for their services, and will increase costs to an already burdened healthcare system. Thank you for your time and consideration of the concerns of the Connecticut's orthopedic community.
Thank you, Susan, for your comments. Just a general question. Are, as we sort of think about reimbursement, why would you suggest that we focus on credentials or of the provider as opposed to the specific procedure being performed? How should we sort of think about reimbursement for medical procedures?
Well, I think first of all, reimbursement for the medical community or any, like I had stated, any professional who contracts for their services is a contract between two people or two entities. And so for the legislature to be involved, I think it does set a dangerous precedent for any other types of healthcare services or any type of services for contracting. And I think back to the analogy that was briefly stated was people charge different things, different pricing, right, for different services, even though I should say they're the same services, but they're just offered by different people. And then if you add that into the healthcare arena where those negotiations are done with the insurers, they're not done, individual to individual. That's the other consideration that has to be made, I think.
Thank you, Susan. And just can you, for those of us who aren't steeped in medical education, obviously podiatrist education requirements are different from MDs and DOs. And are there specifics though that you think are important for us to take into consideration with regard to? Obviously everyone is licensed in this case to perform the same procedure. So is there a reason why we should take part of the MD or DO? Maybe we're straying into public health committee territory, but part of their education is a consideration in not moving forward with this proposal.
I think you could compare. You could do a compare and contrast of their education and training versus a foot and ankle orthopedic surgeon, but I think it really comes down to this bill. It's not my understanding that this is a scope bill. It's my understanding as it's written that this is parity reimbursement. So I think that that's what it should be focused on. But if it is focused on education as well, I can tell you that orthopedic surgeons, foot and ankle surgeons, are 5 to 7 years in their residency. Most podiatrists are at 3. And in Connecticut, the statute doesn't even mandate that a podiatrist complete a residency program. So again, it's my understanding this is not a scope bill. And so I'd like to just get back to that, to mandate a parity, which we don't even know if there is a disparity in the parity to begin with. I haven't seen any data. I've tried to do a little bit of research and was not able to locate any real data in Connecticut. So I think that should be the focus.
Thank you very much. Other questions or comments from members of the committee? If not, thank you.
Thanks so much for your time.
Next up, we have Richard Ely. I think Ely. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. I'm sure you will correct me from the who's a doctor of the diet. I'm having some troubles today. And then followed by Eric George. Okay, we may come back to him. Is Eric George?
I am here. Can you hear me, sir?
We can hear you, Eric.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Senator Lesser, Representative Wood, Senator Wong, Representative Pavlak D'Amato, and members of the committee. My name is Eric George. I am the president of the Insurance Association of Connecticut. We represent the insurance carriers in the life, group benefits, home, auto, and workers' compensation industries. Our membership represents a diverse cross-section of these industries, which are major components of the Connecticut economy and job base. And today I'm here to offer testimony in support of numerous bills that are before you, the vast majority of which are from the Connecticut Department of Insurance's 2021 legislative proposals. The first is House Bill 6391, specifically Section 3. This is the department's bill on the agreed upon changes to the 2019 Connecticut Insurance Cybersecurity Law. We've been working closely with this legislature and the department on this law. This law is now very much in line with the NAIC Model Act. It protects consumers and addresses data breaches. These agreed upon changes deal with issues related to materiality threshold for breach notification, certain notices, and other clarifying language. We greatly appreciate all the work that the department and the legislature have done. And there is a change that we are going to advocate for that Deputy Commissioner Josh Hirschman mentioned earlier. And again, that is in Section 23. That would be to change the effective date. Right now, it says that it will be effective on October 1, 2021. We believe it needs to read that it will be effective upon passage so that we don't have a protracted period of time between when the underlying Cybersecurity Act is effective and when the provisions of 6319 would become effective. That's just a minor nit, but it could have an impact in terms of understanding which law is in place. The next bill is Senate Bill 841, which is the department's bill on genetic information and life insurance. We support this. We've worked closely with this legislature and the department on this. It is an ongoing conversation, but just so you know, the life insurance industry has been dealing with highly sensitive information of its policyholders for over 100 years, and we've been a trusted steward of that data. We greatly appreciate the work of the department and the legislature and are eager to continue that work going. The third bill I want to talk to you about is House Bill 6392, which is the department's credit for reinsurance. This we are joined by the ACLI in supporting. This is in conformance with the NAIC Model Act. Insurers, just like all consumers, purchase insurance. We just do it in the form of reinsurance. In 2017, the United States entered into a covered agreement with the European Union. That laid the groundwork for collateral agreements that the US domiciled insurers needed in order to do business with qualifying EU reinsurers. In 2019, the NAIC updated that Credit for Reinsurance Model Act. House Bill 6392 will eliminate the reduced reinsurance collateral agreements for Connecticut insurers doing business with qualifying EU reinsurers. The risk here is if it's not passed, if House Bill 6392 is not passed, there's a potential for a federal preemption by the Federal Insurance Office. So passage of the bill 6392 will maintain and strengthen our state-based regulatory structure of insurance. And finally, I want to offer our support on House Bill 6387. Again, we're joined by ACLI here. This is the living organ donor bill. We've worked very closely with this legislature and we've worked very closely with the National Kidney Foundation. We want to thank both this legislature and the National Kidney Foundation for working with us. This bill that you have before you, 6387 represents that work, and we're happy to support it. And I'm also happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Eric. And I got to say, it's always surprising and great to see the insurance industry throw their weight behind an important consumer protection matter. And I know you don't normally embrace limits on insurance underwriting, but I'm glad that there's common ground in supporting the urgent need for more organ donation. So I know that that's going to be a relief to a lot of folks who are paying attention to this hearing today, and appreciate your testimony. Does the credit for reinsurance have to do at all with the European or American style of insurance? I know that they're different models of insurance regulation between the European Union and U.S. regulators.
As I understand it, Senator, and first of all, let me thank you for your comments. I really do appreciate those. As I understand it, the credit for reinsurance is really technical in nature, which will avoid the unfortunate situation where we may be preempted due to certain not very substantive, more technical aspects of the existing law that is in place and what it needs to be in order to be in compliance with those changes by the NAIC. So to that extent, it is technical, and what it'll do, it will avoid federal preemption, which we would like to avoid.
Great. Thank you very much. And I know we've had a long back and forth about that provision and some of the other things you're testifying about, so I appreciate it, but We turn it over to any members of the committee if they have questions for you at this point. Are there questions or comments from members of the committee for Mr. George? If not, going once, going twice. All right. If not, you got off easy today, Eric. Thank you for gracing us with your presence again, and it's always good to see you.
Good to see you.
Next up, we have Sarah Rothstein from the SCIU 32BJ Taft-Hartley Fund, followed by Dan Davis. Oh, I've noticed we've been joined by Richard Ely. I hope I'm not butchering your name. You were up earlier. Would you like to have another shot at the apple? Bite of the apple.
Yes, I would appreciate that very much. You were very accurate with the correct pronunciation. It is Dr. Ely. Thank you very much for the opportunity to discuss House Bill 6390. I practiced podiatric medicine for 37 years in Bristol and served many, many patients during that time. I'm here today to ask that you support House Bill 6390 because a podiatrist who provides the same covered benefit within their scope of practice as any other licensed healthcare provider should be reimbursed at the same rate. Our specialty should be fairly reimbursed for the work that we do. As licensed and credentialed podiatric surgeons and physicians in the state, it is an unfair trade practice not to pay us the same fees as our physician colleagues who are performing the same procedures in the same office or hospital setting. I've seen a number of podiatrists leave Connecticut because of the unfair way that they're treated by the insurance reimbursements. It's very difficult to expect a person just coming out of training to go into a specialty where you are paid substantially less than physicians performing the same services in the same environment. Connecticut simply cannot compete on that basis. This is sad because we are producing very highly trained podiatric physicians and surgeons who will take their talents elsewhere instead of staying in Hartford or Yale to service the communities in those areas. I appreciate the different competing interests that you have that you need to balance in making healthcare policy, but this change is long overdue, and I urge you to support House Bill 6390. I want to thank you for the opportunity to address this issue.
Thank you so much, Doctor, and appreciate your testimony. We did hear testimony just a few minutes ago from someone opposed to this proposal. I didn't know if you had an opportunity to hear her testimony or if you had a response.
Yes. I can only compare this to if you go to your primary care physician and you have an EKG performed, as opposed to going to a cardiologist where they do also EKGs. Are those two specialists going to be paid differently for the same procedure? I doubt it. So regardless of the background of foot and ankle specialists versus podiatric specialists, if we're doing the same thing, we should be paid the same amount. It just doesn't make sense to have a separate, distinct fee schedule that's parsed out for one specialty versus another.
Thank you, Doctor. And do you have any comments? She had suggested that this was going to have the effect of raising overall health insurance costs. I don't know what factor the cost of podiatry is in our overall health spend, but I don't know if you had a comment.
My understanding is years ago, we addressed this issue with some of the different insurance companies, and one of them was Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And I believe that after they went back and crunched the numbers, they realized that the amount of cost additional to their system is minuscule. We're a small amount of procedures being done on an average basis, over the year. Compared to the big nut, it's pennies. So there's no substantial cost to the insurance companies when you break that down. However, it's just discriminatory not to be paid the same level as somebody else. It's just not right.
Thank you, Doctor. I think that's my questions for right now. I may have more later. I want to hear what other folks from the committee have to say. I saw that Representative Wood had her hand up. I don't know, Representative Wood, do you have questions or?
I was going to ask the same question. And I think Dr. Ely did a great job of responding. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Paletto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Dr. Ely, for your testimony. It struck me. I just have one quick question for you. Would you be able to share with the committee any public data on the extent of this disparity between podiatrists and physicians If you can expound on it just a little bit, that would be great. Thank you.
I don't know the numbers of the difference. For example, at St. Francis, if you're a member of the PHO, the PHO negotiates a reimbursement rate based on whatever. If you're not a member of that PHO, you get paid X amount less. I don't know the numbers on that. There's another individual who's going to be testifying later on who might be able to enlighten you further to that discrepancy. It's just, I know that there is a significant discrepancy between the specialists. And it basically, what the previous testimony identified is that, yes, they do negotiate contracts for different groups, which may be able to be a little bit more healthy than another contract for a different group, but it's the same thing. Why should a group from St. Francis be able to negotiate a rate that's different than the group at Yale? It's the same procedure. So again, it just doesn't make sense.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Other questions or comments from members of the committee? If not, thank you, Dr. Ely, for your time and for your testimony.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Have a great afternoon.
You too. All right, next up, apologies, Ms. Rothstein. Next up, we have Sarah Rothstein, followed by Dan Davis. Is Sarah Rothstein there? If not, Dr. Dan Davis. Dr.
Hi,
Davis.
my name is Dr. Dan Davis, and I want to thank. Can you hear me?
We can't. Yes, I'm sorry.
Good enough. I want to thank you for the opportunity of being able to provide some testimony on this subject, which is near and dear to my heart. I've been practicing in Bridgeport, Connecticut for close to 40 years. The reason we're here is because we're facing an issue of discrimination, which we know discrimination of any type is wrong. We're bringing this to legislature, and in an effort to try to correct what is I believe, a grievous wrong. I'd like to correct from the start a little bit of misinformation by Ms. Schaffman, because I'd like to clarify the education of a podiatric physician involves 4 years of undergraduate study, 4 years in a med school where we sit side by side medical students now in nearly every school that we have. The professors cannot tell the difference between a podiatric student as opposed to a medical student. And in residency, nobody can tell the difference because we rotate with the medical students in our first year with everybody through every area of the hospital during our residency training. She is correct. We have a 3-year residency training now that is mandatory now for every student that graduates from any podiatric medical school. And that being said, our residency programs, if you go back over the history of training of podiatrists and foot and ankle surgeons, the article that was written by Dr. Michael Aronow a while back ago in the Journal of Foot and Ankle Surgery pointed out that the surgical training of a foot and ankle surgeon is grossly underachieved, with approximately 25 cases being done over the course of 5 years. We have literally 30 times that number of surgeries per year, every year. And it's a pretty significant difference. The key of discrimination, she didn't do her research because this was brought up at the Supreme Court level in Connecticut several years ago, because the law that was written to prevent this type of discrimination was written by a gentleman who you might remember named Dr. George Gunther. Doc Gunther actually wrote this law and rewrote it a second time. And if anybody knew Doc Gunther, they knew he shot from the hip. He rewrote it a second time because he said the slimy insurance companies are finding a way around my law. He rewrote it a second time. Bottom line, he said, when we went to challenge this, he felt that law was solid. We challenged it with Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, like Dr. Ely had said. They immediately said, you know what, we're sorry. They rolled it over, and the cost, which somebody had asked about, was minimal. They believe actually less than $1 per subscriber. And yet it was done with great ease. We took this to United Healthcare, who decided to fight us all the way to the Supreme Court. And I would add that when it came to the CEO of United Healthcare sitting literally under oath, compared to to an MD. It is superior. They are more efficient. And quite frankly, they're extremely well trained. And then the question came, why do you discriminate? And he leaned forward and said, because I can. In this state in Connecticut, that loophole still exists, which is why we're back here again today, because we unfortunately lost at the Supreme Court level because the law was not solid enough. As far as discrimination goes, we're paid in some cases by United Healthcare and Oxford at a rate of 75% less than an orthopedic surgeon doing the exact same work. And we're doing, according even to the CEO of United Healthcare, more efficiently and with less complications.
Thank
So
you,
bottom
Dr.
line,
Davis.
I think it is an issue. There's plenty of evidence out there. And when we recognized that we had to bring this back to the legislature, we recognize that discrimination, once again, in any form is wrong. That's why we're here. And that's why we hope we have your support in actually passing Bill 6390.
Thank you, Doctor. I will say, Doc Gunther was a couple of years before my time, but certainly. Do
we have any questions? Hopefully, did you get to? I hope that made it through.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Davis, and appreciate your testimony. And at this point, I turn it over to any members of the committee who have any questions. If not, thank you very much for your testimony.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you all and have a great, safe day.
Is Sarah Rothstein here? Okay, if Sarah Rothstein's not here, let's go on to Dr. Jeffrey Kahn. Dr. Kahn, are you here? Dr. Kahn. Okay, Dr. Charla Wadley. See that she's on.
Good afternoon, members of the Insurance and Real Estate Committee. My name is Dr. Farlin Charlotte Wadley. I am a doctor of pediatric medicine and I practice and also live in New Haven. I am here today to ask that you support House Bill 6390. This is to help correct the inequity that allows the insurers to pay lower fees to podiatrists for performing pretty much the same treatments as Dr. Ely and Dr. Dan Davis have discussed in their testimonies. Our specialty should be fairly reimbursed for the work that we actually do. We do see that podiatrists, like especially where I practice and we're training our residents in the program at Yale, they are not staying in the community that we're practicing. We're training them, to be like highly trained pediatric physicians and surgeons, and they take their talents elsewhere just because they're not going to stay around if they're treated by unfairly by the insurance reimbursements. I pretty much, represent the young members of the pediatric community, and time again, I hear from them, like they ask all these questions, and when they have to pick between staying in Connecticut or leaving, most oftentimes they leave. I moved to Connecticut I wanted to be part of the community. What I was trained to do, I wanted to help, and it's pretty sad to see that we're producing them and then they're still leaving. And what's also sad to see is that the fact that we are trained to do all of these things, but yet we're getting paid less for doing what we know and are trained better than the others to do. And being treated unfairly like that is not something that I expected, and just being African-American, female, and just seeing it happening as far as being a podiatrist is just very heartbroken. But I do appreciate the efforts that you have to do in order to balance and make the healthcare policies in Connecticut. But this change is pretty much long overdue. And I'm asking you that you please support House Bill 6390. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, and thank you. I think we're all, as a young provider, I think very happy to see your professional success and wish you well. Just one question: do you know if other states have adopted you may or may not know this. Do you know other states have adopted similar requirements? Is this something that's, Connecticut is behind the rest of the country, Anne, or?
I believe Connecticut is behind. We always getting like kickbacks from like other, profession who do similar things that we do, but like I don't hear this problem with people who my colleagues in other states. Like I have colleagues all over, in Florida, California, and they're not experiencing this.
Great, thank you very much. Any comments or questions from members of the committee? If not, thank you, Doctor, for your testimony, and thank you for joining us today. So Doctor, the doctor was the last person we had signed up to testify, but I know we'd skipped a couple of people who weren't on earlier. Have they joined us? Okay, I don't think they have. So with that, I think that concludes the list of people we have signed up to testify at this public hearing. I will just take some bragging rights and say that the hearing that I chaired was way shorter than the one that Representative Wood chaired on Tuesday. And I'll take full credit for running a very efficient public hearing. That's a joke. But I want to thank the members for again joining us today. I know this is a very busy day with other meetings going on. So I want to thank folks for stopping by this public hearing. And with that, but just before I adjourn, I normally we announce the date and time of the next meeting. We don't have one currently scheduled. I will note that I believe our raise bill deadline is Tuesday, but we don't have a date and time at this point, and we'll certainly let the members of the committee know if that changes. With that, thank you very much, and hope all of the folks are safe and have a wonderful weekend. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.